The symbol of your betrayal. I will turn it into scrap.
She slipped inside like nothing was out of place. Denise flashed that flawless grin, too bright, too even, like it belonged on a billboard. "I'm home, love," she sang, dropping her luxury purse. Her yoga mat looked untouched, not a mark on it. She didn't think I'd be awake. I'm usually out cold when her retreats end. That was her plan anyway. "You're up already," she chimed in, that voice that used to matter. I said nothing, just laid the last fork next to the scrambled eggs. 3 eggs split across 2 plates. She drifted into the kitchen humming some throwaway tune. Barefoot, a wave of scent following like a signal. Not her usual perfume. This was sharper, masculine, like those cologne samples from glossy magazines. I knew the brand. It was in our guest bath weeks ago. She brushed my cheek with a ghost of a kiss. Eggs, you spoil me." Her eyes slid to the clock. Wow, someone really missed me. 6 a.m. felt right, I said flat, steady. "You're home sooner than planned." She shrugged, poured juice. Tanya had to fly out early, so the retreat ended fast. Flights were cheaper today. "Smart move," I said. She ignored the tone. The kettle screamed. I poured hot water over chamomile mint, her go-to blend. She believed I'd forgotten. She also believed I didn't know that real yoga retreats don't come with suites facing the ocean. She grabbed for a cup, stopped short. "Where's the red one?" "Dishwasher, I think." It wasn't. She let it drop. She sipped her juice, scanning the room. A flicker crossed her face. Not fear, but something sharp enough to crease her polished forehead. "Did you clean up while I was gone?" I nodded. "Spring cleaning. January's as good a time as any." Then came a faint sound, the soft clink of a mug set on the living room table. Her body tightened. She turned toward it, trying to look easy. "TV left on?" "No." "Expecting someone?" "I am." Her face twitched, the mask slipping. I'd studied that face for 25 years. I knew the tremor that comes when fear hides behind a smile. "Who is it?" I set her tea down. "You'll find out." Her eyes narrowed. "Gerald. You were gone 4 days. 3. 4. You left Thursday morning. Today's Monday." Her lips parted, then shut again. She said nothing, only pivoted toward the living room. The way she moved shifted, shoulders stiff, chin tipped high, a swagger meant to fake control. She crossed into the room. I stayed put, just listened. No sharp cry, no shout, only stillness. A heavy silence, dense like the pause after a wreck when you brace for the ache. Then came a single word, flat and cold. "You." I hid a grin in my teacup and let the weight stretch. It had started with lavender salts 2 years back. A glass jar showed up by the tub. "Helps me relax," Denise said. "My yoga teacher swears by it after chakra reset week." I gave a nod. That was when I quit work, and she began her hunt for the real her. Soon it was weekends gone. First every other month, then once a month. Just some space. Everyone needs to recharge. Right. I recharged with bitter coffee and a sink of plates. She recharged with foam lattes and hotel robes that never made it home. When someone thinks you're too dull to notice, they stop hiding. She always left on Fridays. Same old maroon duffel with a blue sticker half peeled on the bottom. My mind clings to scraps like that. 4 decades in rail control wires you for patterns. You hear the beat. You know when the light doesn't fit the track. Took me a year to catch it. Cash pulls before she left. Not huge. Just $140 here, $160 there. Always the same ATM 10 miles out. I stacked the slips. She never caught on. Then the calls started. Quick, low, from the patio when she figured I was out cold. "No, he doesn't ask. Yeah, same spot. Just say yoga." That's when I marked times. That's when I bought a burner. I didn't play sleuth right away. Just gathered bits, screenshots, gas slips that didn't match her odometer. One time she claimed a vow of silence retreat in Blue Ash. Her Fitbit logged 12,000 steps at 1 a.m. at the Columbus Marriott. Oops. Still, I said nothing. Asked how the silence felt. She said life-changing. Sure. That's when I called Daniel. Old rail guy turned PI for hire, mostly tail jobs for messy splits. Owed me since 03. Time to collect. He followed her 3 weekends. She swore she was meditating to Tibetan gongs in the woods. He sent me clips. Same man, different towns, same hotel room number, 402. Younger, maybe 40, thinning hair, black Lexus with dealer tags. Not slick, just a second-rate realtor with a cheap cologne budget. The next clip caught her in a garage, kissing him, laughing hard. Not the sweet kind. Mean, raw, like she thought no eyes were on her. I watched it twice, then shut the screen and headed out back. Needed my hands busy. Took apart her file drawers, found slips, receipts. One spa invoice listed room service, 2 omelets, Prosecco, extra towels. I built a record for each trip, cross-checked towns on maps, bought a safe she never saw. She grew careless, came home with pool chlorine and mint gum on her breath. Water cleanse ritual, she said. I nodded. Bet that helped? She smiled, kissed me. You never push. I love that about you. That was the last lie I let slide. By then, I had made one more call. The voice on the other end said, "So you're ready?" I was. First thing she saw missing was the rug. That floral beast she dragged from a pricey showroom, gone. Rolled up in the shed. Bare floor gleamed cold. Where's the rug? Didn't fit. Floor needed sanding. A shaky laugh. You moved things while I was gone? Had time and a reason. Her yoga guides were gone from the table, swapped for the art of war. The hallway mirror, too. The one she used to rehearse smiles before retreats. I'd caught her once, shaping her face like an actress. The photos were gone as well. No weddings, no trips, no framed smiles. Only one picture left. Black and white, me in '82, oil-stained, fixing a signal relay. She always mocked it. You look like a mechanic who lost to a train. Now it sat at center stage. Smells like coffee, she said. Fresh pot. Poured 2 cups. She stopped at the arch. The light cut brighter now without those gauzy curtains she called mood. That room used to be her set. Now it looked like an interview box. Then sound, quiet sip, a mug tapping glass. Someone in the living room, someone steady enough to drink coffee here. Gerald, she said, voice lower. Who's here? She stepped in. I leaned on the counter, watching. She stalked forward, like a cat closing in. There she was, straight back, legs crossed, calm, mug in both hands like it was hers. Charcoal blazer, courtroom sharp, eyes cool, smile small but steady. Grace. That name had not touched these walls in 20 years. Denise froze mid-step. Grace lifted her mug. Morning. Denise stayed quiet, jaw locked, hands tight. What are you doing here? Grace looked at me. I looked at Denise. She's here to help me finish something I should have ended long ago. Just like that. Walls she thought were hers started whispering they never were. She didn't blink. That's how I knew she was panicking. Denise always blinked when lying. Rapid-fire flutters like her brain was buffering. But now her eyes locked, bloodshot, stunned, fixated on the woman she thought she'd erased. Grace didn't flinch, just calm, measured nod, like old colleagues at networking event. Not 2 women whose silent war simmered beneath my marriage for 25 years. Then the twitch. Corner of her mouth, right side, jerked like cut wire. I'd seen it once before. Night she realized my mother left her out of the will. Same stunned glitch. Back then, she cried in bathroom 40 minutes, came out with streaked apology and mysterious new handbag week later. This time, no exit, just exposure. Coffee? I asked Grace, settling beside her on couch. Denise stayed standing like she'd stepped on stage at wrong part of play. I don't understand. Why is she here? Because you invited her, I said, sipping. What? I haven't spoken to her in 25 years, almost to the month. Grace crossed legs, never leaving Denise. You really thought I wouldn't show up again? I didn't think about you at all, Denise shot back, voice sharpening. Oh, you will, I said calmly. Hollow laugh. So this is ambush? You 2 reconnected to ruin my morning? You did that yourself? She looked between us like reading foreign language. You're serious. Actually serious. You know what this looks like? Pathetic. Grace raised eyebrow. Pathetic was booking suite 402 with a man calling himself Rafe who sells waterfront timeshares in Dayton. Denise paled. She remembered that name. She's not here to fight. She's here because I asked. Why the hell would you? Because you wrote the first chapter. I'm just writing the last. She backed up. The mug steamed quietly. She didn't look at it, but saw it. And knew whatever came next wouldn't be loud. It would be final. Denise loved rewriting history. Talent for it, like politicians smiling through scandal. Over years, she turned Grace into footnote. Old flame who never mattered. You dodged bullet there. She seemed clingy. I laughed then. You laugh when being lied to so confidently. But I never forgot truth. Not first night Grace and I sat under rusted water tower, splitting cheap wine, talking about post-railroad life. Not how she read track schedules faster than me, brought sandwiches during graveyard shifts without asking what I wanted. Just knowing. Especially never forgot the day she vanished without goodbye. No closure, no fight, just clean cut. For 25 years, I let that scab over until learning how it got sliced open. Grace hadn't left. Denise had pushed. Week before I proposed, Grace got anonymous notes. He's not who you think. He talks about you like backup plan. He said you were needy. She didn't tell me, just pulled back, grew cold, confused. Denise watched it happen, orchestrated it, waited. Grace connected dots, seeing Denise at holiday party wearing same perfume that stained envelopes. Now Grace reached into manila folder, slid pages across coffee table. They're copies. You can keep them. Typed statements from Denise's old co-workers, both confirming she'd whispered rumors, bragged about eliminating competition. He doesn't need girl who understands signals. He needs one who sends them. Another page showed timeline. Denise's texts during shared phone plan audit. What's this supposed to prove? Ancient drama? No, I'm showing him what was stolen. Stolen? I didn't. You did. You made sure I'd never get chance to say goodbye. You think he would have stayed with you? I know he would have, but it's not about that anymore. I nodded, walked to mantel, took down our wedding portrait, dark cherrywood frame, engraved, endless journey, handed it to her. She didn't take it. Gerald, this doesn't matter anymore. That's the problem. You built our life on idea. None of it mattered. Grace interrupted. I didn't come to fight. I came to give back what you stole. I'm not staying. Flight it too. Then why now? Because he finally asked? Thick silence. Denise realized something she'd never prepared for. I had history before her, and now it had come home. She straightened like preparing for deposition. This is my house. I reached into leather folder, the one she gave me 10 years ago for Father's Day. To keep crossword puzzles, she'd joked. Held documents ever since, things she never bothered checking. I pulled one sheet, placed it flat. Her eyes dropped. The deed, signed, notarized, transferred. Her name once listed under joint ownership, now absent. She stared, lips pressed tight enough to sharpen blade. Lifted corner with 2 fingers like it was contaminated. Eyes scanned. Throat clicked, swallowing. I don't understand. You signed power of attorney forms 3 years ago. Said you didn't want to deal with property paperwork. Said it was boring. She looked like I'd read capital punishment in Morse code. So, this is gotcha moment? No, this is context. I slid second file. Thick, tabbed, categorized. Every page marked with GPS data, hotel invoices, meal charges. Cross-reference calendar of every retreat against phone records and parking garage hits. Screenshot from Marriott security cam. Receipt for 2 ribeyes and Shiraz. Signature was hers, but room name wasn't. She flipped faster, breathing shallow. You think this proves something? Everything. You've been spying on me? No, I've been documenting. Spying is when you don't trust someone. Documenting is when you already know. Sharp laugh. Jesus, Gerald. You went full forensic accountant over few hotel nights. 18 weekends, 7 cities, 3 aliases, 1 Lexus, and bottle of peppermint gum discontinued since 2019. That landed. She froze, hands curled. So what now? You think this earns you medal? No, I'm not here to win. I'm here to end. The woman who orchestrated silent unraveling of my life now stood speechless in room she once controlled. Walls repainted, pictures removed, scent replaced. You think this makes you hero? I'm not the hero. You never married one, but I'm not your fool anymore either. I turned to Grace. She handed me last page. Affidavit, statement from someone Denise hadn't considered. Her friend Tanya, the retreat buddy. When offered immunity and $300 check, she'd spilled every detail. The weekends, rendezvous, excuses, even schedule they used keeping stories straight. Denise didn't ask what it was. She knew she was standing in wrong room, holding wrong cards, and game was over. For once, her turn to shut up and listen. Grace leaned forward like woman leveling with human who finally ran out of lies. There's something you never saw, Denise. While you were curating getaway life, Gerald was curating escape route. Brittle laugh. Oh, please. But I saw the flicker. Creeping nausea when your world comes apart at financial seams. Grace pulled shorter stack, only 10 pages. This is the cabin, purchased 18 months ago, lakefront. He used trust you mocked. You said only rich people need those. Turns out rich people and prepared people have one thing in common. They don't like surprises. Denise's jaw tightened. The retirement account rolled into solo 401k. Done legally, quietly. Your name removed same week you posted that picture with yoga sisters in Cabo. It was joke trip. No. You told me you were working through trauma. Needed space to heal. You were wearing matching bikinis with guy named Rafe, whose hand was on your thigh. Next page. The Tahoe. You thought it was yours. Told your sister you'd get it in divorce. Registration was never transferred. It's under Gerald's LLC. You'd know if you ever opened glove box. Face flushed red, climbing her neck. You're manipulating this. No, he's reclaiming it. I didn't gloat. Just sat back and let her feel it. This wasn't about money. It was about taking apart safe structure she'd built brick by brick. Fantasy where I'd always be there, always pay, always stay. I paid taxes on cabin. That came from my bonus check. No, your bonus paid 3 months of Lexus lease and personal wellness coach named Elena. I intercepted bank notifications. Running out of oxygen, lies, leverage. Gerald, we can work something out. There's nothing left to work. I spent 2 years watching woman I married reinvent herself as someone who thought lies were self-care and cheating was reward. Meanwhile, I sold off the fantasy in pieces. You just didn't notice. Grace handed last 2 documents. Family trust structure printout. List of asset transfers filed under my name. Cross-referenced, time-stamped, signed. I didn't just catch you, I replaced you. Lips trembled. You can't. I already did. She looked around like realizing lights were never on. Rug gone, frames replaced, walls bare, house waiting for new occupants or to be left behind. You've been planning this whole time. No, Denise, you planned this. I just kept receipts. I reached into pocket. The room went quiet. Too quiet. Silence before building comes down. I pulled out phone. Her eyes snapped instantly. Posture shifted. She stepped forward, not confrontational, but enough to intervene. I unlocked it, tapped screen. Speaker crackled, then low rustle from cotton sheets and hotel covers. Her chuckle, not the one she used at home, this one unfiltered, confident, cruel. He'll never leave. He's harmless. He needs me. Male voice, nasal. You sure he's not catching on? Oh, please, he's like golden retriever with pension, loyal, dumb, and house-trained. Sledgehammer silence. Denise lunged fast, but Grace stepped in, caught her mid-swipe, pushed her back gently. Denise stumbled, glared like cornered animal. Give me that phone. You already gave me what I needed. That's illegal. You can't record me in private. I'll sue. You can try, but you weren't in Ohio, and it wasn't my recording. It was sent to me from someone who was there, someone who didn't like being laughed at when they realized he wasn't the only one. She froze, now not just furious, exposed, raw, skinless, standing in what used to be her domain with every pillar yanked out. Hands trembled, mouth opened, nothing came out. Words from voicemail hung like smoke. I used to believe being quiet was weak, being patient was passive. But you know what I realized? She didn't answer. I was never harmless. I was controlled. And last time I let someone define me is the last time they'll ever do it. Lower lip quivered. Grace didn't say word. Just walked to kitchen, poured coffee like watching sad, predictable movie with perfect ending. Denise stood surrounded by wreckage of her own cleverness. Secrets weren't just out. They were organized, dated, cross-examined, publicly played on loop she couldn't shut off. Still hadn't cried. Even now, she believed she could win. That made her final loss more satisfying. Voice smaller now, not broken but softened like sales pitch at closing time. Voice not used to begging but desperate enough to try. Gerald, we can fix this. I messed up. I did. But this isn't us. It's not how we end. She moved hand toward mine. I didn't pull away. Didn't meet halfway either. Let her words fall into space between us, cold and echoing. Please, you've always been solid. Safe. That's why I... Cut herself off. Regrouped. I lost track. I thought you'd always be there. I was. She blinked, hopeful. And then I wasn't. Fingers curled. Another step. If this is about her... Flicked chin toward Grace. Fine, she got her moment. But this doesn't need to go further. I'll go to therapy. We'll go to therapy. Write new chapter. I turned to Grace. She nodded once, understanding what came next. Reached into tote, pulled thick envelope. No drama, no slow reveal. Just business. I handed it to Denise. She stared like it was fire. What is this? Separation agreement, filed, clean, legal, irrevocable. You filed already? I told you, I stopped reacting a long time ago. I started preparing. She tore it open, scanned first page. Breath caught, eyes raced down lines. Notarized signatures, listed assets, frozen accounts, changed beneficiaries, removed proxy rights. Shoulders sagged. You're choosing her? After everything? After me? You're choosing Grace? I didn't glance at Grace. No, I'm choosing me. Line landed like clean chest punch because that's what she never saw coming. Not Grace, not documents, not timeline. She thought biggest threat was another woman. Never realized it was man who stopped begging to be understood. She looked around like castaway scanning for shore that no longer existed. No frame pictures, no shared memories, no rug. Even thermostat reset. I changed code last week. Gerald. Voice cracked. Finally saw collapse of illusion. This wasn't bluff. No speech, no passion, no half-hearted promise would unflip what had turned. World she manipulated with half smiles and shoulder rubs was dissolving. This time script didn't have her as lead. I stepped away slowly. Grace beside me, not touching, not interfering, just witnessing. You can stay tonight. Lawyer said I should give 24 hours to vacate, but I'd rather not watch you pack. You're serious? Dead serious. You'll find list of remaining items upstairs. Anything not claimed by noon tomorrow goes to donation. Envelope trembled in her hand. She opened mouth, but I raised finger. No more monologues. You had your turn. For first time in our marriage, Denise stood completely powerless. Without words, without leverage, without clue who I really was, when I stopped being what she needed. That terrified her more than anything. She stood in a hallway like broken antique. Expensive, polished, but useless now. Envelope hung limp, edges bent from grip. Shoes still off. She always insisted on no shoes. Now she'd leave barefoot. I walked her to door step by step like escorting stranger from museum. She paused by coat rack as if sight would anchor her. But jacket she sought wasn't there, already boxed up. Box sat by door, simple, labeled D-personal. Suitcase beside it, nothing fancy, just logistics. Fingers brushed handle, dropped. She turned to me. This didn't have to end like this. Didn't it? Hard swallow, blinking faster. Mascara finally began to run like ink in her story smudged. Was any of it real? I didn't answer. She looked like she wanted to say something else, some final dagger about how I drove her away. But even she knew it wouldn't land. Not after everything. Not after voice recording, ledger, photos, trust, paperwork confirming she'd lost not just me, but access, legacy, home. She reached for doorknob, paused. I loved you, Gerald. No, you loved owning me. Silence. Then she stepped out. No slam, no storming off. Just quiet steps on porch into unfamiliar daylight. From window, I saw her stop by walkway. Turned one last glance, hoping maybe I'd follow, soften, forget. But I was already back inside. Living room was peaceful. Grace stood by couch, mug in hand, steam trailing from lip. I sat beside her and she offered me my cup. I took it. It had gone cold. I didn't reheat it. Some things are meant to cool. Through window, Denise still stood at curb, frozen, one foot on sidewalk, other in nowhere. She watched as Grace reached over, gently took my hand. That's when her shoulders sagged. When she realized there'd be no second act, no dramatic redemption, no surprise reversal. Just sound of front door clicking shut, and on other side, silence, peace, and 2 mugs of cold coffee. I leaned back into couch, let steam fade into nothing, and for first time in 25 years, didn't ask myself what she was thinking. Because it didn't matter anymore.